Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to Sort of Christmassy. I'm talking Waffles. I'm your host, Iliyana. So I say sort of Christmassy because, as you saw from the title, this is kind of like a year review in a way for I'm Talking Waffles and like the year of 2021. So before we jump into that, I just want to talk about how Christmassy it is right now. And today is the most Christmassy day, even though it's not Christmas, but it's snowing. It was wild because the other day it was 16 degrees mid-December and I didn't even have to zip up my coat. I didn't even have to wear a coat outside. It felt like March. It was like so sunny and it felt super strange because I don't think I've ever experienced a December so warm. And according to the news, it said that this is like a 35-year-old record that we just broke. So that's a little concerning that it was so hot in December, but now it's snowing. So it's like that never happened. And today I'm going to be making gingerbread men and women from scratch. I'm going to be wrapping up my Christmas presents for everybody. I'm going to go tobogganing and I'm going to go crunching through the snow because of course that's one of my favorite things to do in the wintertime. And I also got to look at Christmas lights the other day and that was super nice, and just going on a little walk around unfamiliar terrain because obviously I'm not in my city right now. I'm in Toronto. So it's been quite the experience being here and I'm having a lot of fun. So that's awesome. I also got Tim Hortons chili the other day and the Tim Hortons candy cane white hot chocolate, which if you haven't tried it, please do. It's honestly the best thing since sliced bread. I love it. The white candy cane hot chocolate is better than the regular, so make sure you specify white candy cane hot chocolate because it's just so good. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to do for my beginning of show updates. So let's jump right into this year review. So looking back, I'm Talking Waffles started January of 2021 and it's just like it blows my mind and I'm like so excited and kind of proud that I've continuously created this weekly content aside from like the concussion and that made it took away some of the episodes, but that wasn't my fault. It was my sister's because she made me laugh. And so it's really cool to be able to kind of think about how I started in the year and how it's ended and the confidence that I've gained from talking on this microphone, because at the beginning I was like super scared. I was worried like what is everyone gonna think, like do people even care, like people even want to hear some random person tell stories, like what if people think a solo podcast and what will my friends and family think, like are they gonna think it's cringy? Some of them do and I'm okay with that. Like that was one of my biggest concerns. I was like, oh, like what are people gonna think? And like I've come to the conclusion that I don't really care what other people think. I do this because I think it's fun, and that's a huge change from like how I felt releasing the first couple of episodes. But I love it. I love doing the podcast. It's a lot of fun. Which I just wanted to give like a quick reminder that this is the last episode of the year, and then the other episodes like for the new year are gonna come back. I'm gonna tentatively say January 3rd, but I'll update you on my social media like my Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, letting you know because I don't know if I'm gonna be like tired or not to record. So tentatively we'll say January 3rd, but it may be January 10th. So I'll update you on that, but feel free to check back and see if there's a new episode by that time because I'm very excited for the new year. But yeah, back to the year review. This year was pretty decent, to be honest. Like the COVID restrictions have started to lift, which is good. I went to Vancouver. That was a highlight of my year, to be honest. This year review is kind of not in order because I'm just doing it based on what I remember happened this year. And obviously I don't remember everything that happened this year, but yeah, let's talk about Vancouver because that was so good. After my concussion, which was a horrible time, I recovered and went back to work and everything. And then I was able to plan my Vancouver trip to go see 3 of my sisters. And it was so much fun. Like, I have never been to Vancouver before, and I'm so happy that I went. The trees are massively tall there. The weather is incredible. There's mountains. Like, it just really, like, uplifts you. Like, you can feel, like, I don't know how to explain it, but you just like feel much better in that area. I don't know if it has to do with like the air or something. I have no idea, but it was great. I love Vancouver, and despite some of the weird things happening, like the hit and run, that was really weird, or like the guy who I think he was drinking coffee while handcuffed, that was weird too, and like the random dinosaur costume person on the escalator, that was also weird. Vancouver has some very strange people in it, I would say, but the experience was really great. I loved being able to go to different coffee shops. There were some really cool ones like Trees. I really liked that one. That one was really good. Of course, Starbucks is always good. But honestly, it was weird though, because the Starbucks in Vancouver didn't taste as good. Like, it was okay, like it was good still, but it didn't taste as good as it does like where I am, like where I live, or even here in Toronto. So I don't know. It was weird. I was like, oh, it doesn't taste as good, but it's still good. But I digress. The food in Vancouver is amazing. I had the best ramen ever in Vancouver, and I had some really good butter chicken as well. So if you love trying food and you like good food, Vancouver was definitely a highlight on my year this year. And of course, I mentioned my concussion. It's not a highlight, but it was a very memorable moment of this year because it was the worst experience. It wasn't the worst experience of my life, but it was a pretty bad experience of my life. And it was so painful. And it really kind of makes you reflect. Like, this episode is really like the underlying theme for you English majors is reflection. And the concussion really forces you to reflect because you're stuck in bed. You can't do anything. Like, the concussion would be 10 million times better if I was allowed to do stuff like watch TV. Like, when you're sick, you can watch TV and play on your phone. Like, you feel like garbage, but at least you can entertain yourself. The concussion, you can't do that. You can't even talk to people. Like, it's literally just you. You have to just lay in your bed, darkness everywhere, no sounds. You can't talk to people. You only have to hang out with yourself, which is fine to an extent. Like, I like hanging out with myself. I am a lot of fun to be around, I think. But when you're stuck with yourself for like weeks straight, you really just think about everything ever, and you're just like, oh my goodness, like, I'm tired of hanging out with myself. Please, I need to do something. And you just kind of feel, I suppose you feel a little helpless in a way because you can't do anything. I know that I felt really stuck, and it was making me very antsy. I just wanted to get better faster with the concussion. And obviously I did everything I could, like rest, not be near screens, like rest again, darkness, all of that. And it still took a long time to recover. And it kind of makes you think about people who have like terminal illnesses or anything else, and they are just kind of stuck with themselves. And it's just depressing to think about. Like, that's what I'm probably getting at here. It's just depressing to think about that you have no control over things like that happen to you. You just have to accept it and be like, okay, yep, that happened, that sucks, and now I'm stuck here like this. And then you either get better or you don't get better. And luckily for me, I got better, I recovered from my concussion, and I'm forever thankful for that. And I can continue living my life and being adventure-y and, you know, all that like life stuff you do in your 20s, like just live my life. But I can't even imagine still having the concussion. I think I would lose my sanity, to be honest. I would say another big highlight of this year is definitely getting the Invisalign. Now, I know for some people, they couldn't care less if they got Invisalign or braces. Like, majority of kids and teenagers, their parents get it for them and they don't want it, but that's just the way it goes. But when you actually want to get something like that, it's the best moment ever when you finally get it. It's something I dreamed about literally for decades. And so it was pushed back because of the concussion, which again, like, made the concussion feel even worse for me. And I was like, no, like, this is horrible. Like, I just want to get my Invisalign. And then I thought I was going to die and never get it because, like, the concussion was bad. And then I was like, okay, I'm good. So I got the Invisalign, which was amazing. And I'm so happy with my decision to do it. I'm not done it yet. Like, it's going to take probably another year and a half, I think, is what the dentist recommended. And I'm happy with that because the way I think about it is that no matter what you do, a year and a half is still going to pass by. So if I don't get the Invisalign, a year and a half is still going to pass by. With the Invisalign, a year and a half is still going to pass by, except my teeth are going to change into a way that I'm more happy with. And so that was what I was like, okay, you know what? Like, this is the time to do it. I have enough money to do it now. And so definitely a highlight. The weirdest part, though, is that these highlights were literally like the same month. I'm pretty sure all of this happened in August. Like, Vancouver was in August and Invisalign was in August. Those are like the two biggest things for me this year. The concussion was in June, obviously not a highlight, and I'm Talking Waffles was in January. So really for me, this year didn't really feel like it began until August, if that makes sense, because like COVID kind of messes a lot of things up here. Like, you can't really go to places, you can't really do things, but Yeah, definitely the highlights of my year started in August, and it's exciting. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, it was good times. A couple of other highlights that are recent to November would definitely be NaNoWriMo this year. That was incredible. I've been doing NaNoWriMo since 2015, so it's been quite a while for me doing it. But this year I was way more involved in it. Like I joined the community forums and like the daily prompts and the Discord channel and like all of this stuff, and I hit the goal of 50,000 words. I actually went a little bit over, which is super fun. So that was another super highlight in my year review. So yeah, NaNoWriMo was amazing. And then of course I cannot not mention I got to see my coworkers in person, which honestly feels like a dream because like it only happened like a month ago, but it was just so much fun. Like I was a little worried at first because I was like seeing people in person, like I don't know, just like the whole like what if they don't like you, or what if I get really tired hanging out with people. Honestly, I did get really tired hanging out with people, but it was only a couple of days, so it was fine, and it was amazing, and I loved that a lot as well. So that was great. But yeah, those are pretty much like the highlights of my year. Right now, one of my highlights, I suppose, is just being here in Toronto and exploring and having fun. I'm hanging out with my boyfriend's family. I'm hanging out with him. I'm going to be hanging out with some friends here in Toronto tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. I have coffee. Like, it's just the vibes here are good, you know? Like, good vibes all around. I'm all about the good vibes. I have the sweater that my littlest sister hates, and it says good vibes only. And she hates it so much, but I love it because I'm all about those good vibes. Does this make me a hippie? I don't know. I'm just into good vibes, you know? And I used to really be obsessed with peace signs too. My other little sister reminded me of just the other day. I had this weird phase when I was like a 10, 11, maybe 12. I was obsessed with all things peace signs. And so I had peace sign bed sheets. I had peace sign blankets. I had peace sign pillows and pillowcases. I was going to hang like beaded peace signs up in front of my like door. Yeah. I don't know if that makes me a hippie or not, or I was just really into peace signs, but yeah, I like peace signs. They're pretty cool. This episode is a little bit of a mess, to be honest, and I hope you can forgive me for that, but I really just wanted to kind of reflect on the year and reflect on the highlights and even on the lowlights, which like the concussion, and like honestly, I say it over and over again, that concussion really messed me up. Like there's the difference between like when something great happens to you, you can look back on it and be like really happy and all that. But when something bad happens to you, like the concussion, it honestly takes a really long time to not just physically, but mentally recover. And so that took a while. I would say that I've only been like fully physically and mentally recovered from the concussion for like maybe a month and a half. Like that's how I feel. Like, yeah, that's how I feel about that. But I mean, if that's the worst thing that happened to me this year, that's pretty good, because it was just a head injury, which, yeah. When you think about it, like, it's important to reflect as well. I think this is because of the concussion, I'm really into, like, reflecting not only on the past year, but past month, past week, couple of years ago, decades ago. Like, it's really kind of encouraging to see how much you've grown as a person, and even, like, knowing what you need to work on as a person. So I always see the end of the year, even though like we made up time and there's no such thing as years or, you know, all that stuff. But because of the way we as humans have like decided this is the end of the year, it kind of forces you in a way to be reflective of the year. But I encourage you to be reflective at all times of the year, not just the new year or the end of the new year, because you can like learn so much. Like I have this bullet journal that I think I mentioned like a couple of months ago maybe, and I like to keep track of like my life goals, my work goals, some personal goals, and even like little like mood charts to see like how I was feeling and how certain things can affect your mood, like what made me really happy that day or what made me be like whatever, like that kind of day. And so I really love doing that. And what I love about bullet journals is they kind of force you to be reflective of the month and the week and the day, which is great. And there's no like rules to a bullet journal either. Like I think maybe technically there might be like rules are like right in it, but it's completely up to you to do whatever you want with it. And I'm obsessed with doing it. And I gotta give a shout out to Jaden Dene, the Instagram sensation, for telling me about bullet journaling, because that really helps you be reflective and think about the year and think about your life in general and how you can continuously improve and be better and grow. And now this episode is very inspirational. I don't know what's going on, but it's just the way it goes. Yeah, so I think that's really the main, like I said, the underlying theme for you English majors is reflection. And so I'm going to give you something to think about. I want you to think about, what do I want you to think about? I want you to think of something that you can reflect on, be it like within the past year, the past couple of years, past week, whatever makes sense for you. And I encourage you to kind of keep a log of it and see how you've grown, because there's nothing more encouraging than seeing how you've completed your goals, because you can make goals, but if you don't look back on them, like, you're not going to remember all of them. You're not going to know if you actually like achieve those goals or not. So yeah, I think I'm going to name this episode a reflection, because that's what this whole thing has become. It's all about reflection and growing from your reflection. Am I an old lady? Please tell me, lovely I'm Talking Waffles listeners, do I give old lady vibes? Because sometimes I feel like I give old lady vibes. Yeah, I think that's all I was going to talk about today. So reflection is key. I'm actually reading this book. That's my book of the month, and it's called The Power of Now. And it's all about kind of getting out of your head and embracing the now and all of that stuff. So if that sounds like a book that you're interested, like, definitely go check it out. It's recommended because I think I mentioned before that my work, I'm part of this like book of the month club sort of thing, where every month we read a new book and then we talk about that book. And they're all like really good, like thought-provoking books. And they always teach you something. So this one's really cool because it's like self-reflection and all that stuff I've just yammered on about for over 20 minutes. But when I cut the video, like when I cut this audio down, it's going to be less than 20 minutes, I'm sure. But yeah, right now we're at 20 minutes. So I think I've rambled on enough. I hope that this, in a way, inspires you and doesn't bore you to death. And if it makes you cringe, then that's okay as well. You can cringe. But yeah, I just think reflection is really important, not just the end of the year, but at all times of the year. And the concussion and all these other highlights. And when you think about the year as a whole, like, there's just so many pieces and things that happened. And yeah, I don't know. That's just how I feel. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We are now going to jump over to everybody's favorite part of the show. That's right. You already know it. It's the fun fact of the day. So today's fun fact is, dun-da-da! The first New Year's celebration dates back 4,000 years. Julius Caesar, the Emperor of Rome, was the first to declare January 1st a national holiday. He named the month after Janus, which is the Roman god of doors and gates. Janus had two faces, one that was looking forward and one that was looking back. So Caesar felt that this month named after this god would be like super, super fitting. So that's where the New Year's holiday actually comes from. Regarding New Year's traditions, I always like to do this then every New Year's, and I call it starting off on the right foot. And basically, when the countdown goes, as soon as it hits 1, you jump to your right foot because you're starting off the year on the right foot. And I just think it's really funny. And if you think it's funny and you have that weird broken humor that I do, feel free to take it and do it. It's honestly my New Year's tradition. So yeah, I love that. Regarding the New Year's, I haven't even thought about like a New Year's resolution because, like I said, reflection and all that stuff, like working on yourself every single day of every single hour, you kind of always have resolutions throughout the year that you get to do, and more as like you continue to hit your previous goals and you make new goals based off of those goals. So I'll let you know in the new year what I decide my New Year's resolution to be. Usually it's just something funny like don't write B-Day, and that actually comes from my sibling who really hates when people write B-Day. So most of the time, if I can't think of a resolution, I just say don't write B-Day. I just write birthday. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it. It's a good thing to think about. Well, that's something to look forward to in the next year. So I will see you January 3rd, probably. If anything changes, January 10th, but I'm aiming for January 3rd. So I'm excited to see you next year. Ha 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 ha. Funny, Iliyana, right? Okay. With that, I'm going to bid you a great rest of your morning, great rest of your evening, great rest of your night, great rest of your apocalypse, and great rest of your new year. Have a happy new year and happy holidays, and I will see you next year. Ha ha ha. Bye!